All right. Zora was all over the field right now.
So Kyle Madison takes turn 1 here. We see 2 Zoros on the bench, Trebush, and just an N. So no, not your typical start of getting turn 1 Bridget, but he still has plenty of Pokemon out, and even with the N, I think it's still a solid start for him.
He's got to be a little bit underwhelmed though. Playing 3 Bridget, really trying to prioritize getting that turn 1. We'll see how he can get his setup going, especially with this very unique take on Zoroark here.
So not much out of that hand. I see a DCE, a Psychic, and even looks like the Breakpoint Garbodor that shuts off abilities. But not much else here. So this is a really slow start here for Kyle.
Not even attaching, not opening himself up to any crazy retreat, Lele knockouts on a Zora or anything like that. We see, I believe that's a Sudowoodo coming down. DC on the active. Here we go.
All right, so we see a lot of different things here. He has a Sycamore, but I'm curious if he's going to hold that because we do see an Evo Soda in his hand.
Nope,
but he says, hey, you know what? He didn't set up fast enough. Let me get all my stuff going.
Yep, exactly right. We see a couple energy in there and an Ultra Ball, which it's going to be interesting to see what he prioritizes here, what he wants to get on his bench. Might fish up another Zora to start trading. Might pull up a Lele to get a support for next turn.
It looks like he's going to just probably get another Zorua down with this Ultra Ball here. And seeing he has 1 GX in hand, he's just kind of decide what's the card he wants to sacrifice right now. He wants to hold the Evo Soda so he can evolve a second Zorua. But actually, he's eyeing to maybe discard it.
With the start he has, interesting, very interesting. With the Evo Soda and the Zoroark GX in hand, he could have 2 Zoroarks next turn, but he decides to pass. I'm going to play the waiting game here.
I think he valued too much stuff in his hand right now is what his ultimate thought was there. You know, everything in there had an intricate piece to his ultimate goal here, winning the game. And he's like, you know what, I need all these cards. Let me just hold off and end next turn.
Yeah, he's got that counter energy. He's kind of playing the DC down, kind of like, hey, take this knockout on this Zorua so I can come up, watch and learn, take a big KO on a Zoro GX and get back ahead in the prize trade there.
So interesting. He decided not to evolve to the Garbodor right now. I think he realized, you know what, hey, I need to trade right now and get set up. So it would be counterintuitive for me right now to evolve to this Garbodor that shuts off abilities.
Yep, absolutely.
So Ultra Ball coming down right now. I want to say he's probably, we have to get his Zork GX out. I'm sure that's what he's eyeing right now to start setting up trades.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's got to get something going here. Even with the threat, like I mentioned, kind of looming with the Watch and Learn Sudowoodo, you know, maybe he'll just evolve the one on the bench and start trading, you know, and not really jockeying for position quite yet.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely really intimidating spot right now. I think that's why Bokhari decided not to get rid of the counter energy, knowing that, hey, he can just go right his beating right here to knockout, and I can just retaliate with Sudowoodo right now. So that could be another reason why he decided to not sacrifice any cards in his hand.
Exactly right. You know, sometimes putting your opponent in the position to make the first play and kind of instigate the action allows you to make a more informed decision on your following turn and can kind of swing the game back into your favor.
So we do see another Troubles down in first trade. Get rid of Psychic Energy. He only runs 4, so he has to be careful with those here, but he does have Puzzle of Time.
Another Zora down, which is great.
And let's go for the right.
So we're about to see a very interesting follow-up here because of that counter energy. Zora off the top. He's going to be able to take a big knockout if he wants to.
So he needs to have, looks like, so half the damage would be, he needs at least 120 damage. So he needs a full bench to one-shot this Zork right now. So
he has the ability, it would seem, to maybe Lele Bridget, get that all filled up.
And then hopefully, well, he can't even trade, so he needs a couple things right now. Because Lele Bridget gets him through 3. Oh, you're right. Sorry, Lele Bridget and then Zora in hand. You have sort of 5th one. So. Or even then, he could just, even if he only had the 4, he has Choice Band also.
He does have Choice Band, yep.
So definitely options here. I think he's just going to run it through, make sure, you know, is it worth me discarding this Evo Soda right now? But we do see the Lele and we do see the Bridget, so this knockout is inevitably going to happen. I'm curious what cards he's going to grab here. This matchup is really interesting. So I'm sure he's just going to kind of favor just getting a bunch of Zorks out. He has the Watch and Learn Sudowoodo now. Yep. Still has his Retro Stretcher Index. Still has Puzzle. So his kind of party is going to just sit in the driver's seat with Zorks and just kind of attack away with Rider's Beating. And then when he actually hits back, he can just hit with the Watch and Learn Sudowoodo. So
he's kind of putting Kyle in an interesting spot with the Trubbish that can turn off abilities, but Kyle not being incredibly set up right now. He doesn't really have a lot of motivation to turn off this ability right now because he still needs his trades. So he's able to kind of safely set up a couple more Zorus and take advantage of the early game trades that he'll have available to him because Kyle can't quite turn him down yet.
I'm curious at what point do you evolve to the Garbotoxin Gardevoir right there to slow down Bokhari. So I'm really curious at what point do you do that?
It doesn't seem like he's really got the setup he needs right now. So I don't see him turning him off next turn unless he kind of gets it all. Yeah, you know, watch and learn here, big knockout, which we talked about, and he's back up ahead of the prize trade. So let's see what Kyle can do in response. Puts up the Troublous Floatstone, giving himself some options for the treat.
One thing we got to keep in mind also is on Bokhari's item count, because he does play the Trash Lane's Garbodor. So, you know, it's kind of like a pressure situation where you got to kind of keep track of what you're discarding and everything there. While Zoroark does resist Psychic, you know, those items pile up if you get a little carried away with your trade.
Absolutely, absolutely do. And an N. So we'll see what he can get off this. He's got a DC down on Zoroark GX, and I don't believe he's used his trade for the turn yet.
So Kyle does have 2 Enhanced Hammer in his list, so we could see that going down on the counter energy, and no special charge on Zachary's side. So Zach's side, sorry. So he's focused on just his energy recoveries strictly through his puzzle times.
Yeah, those Enhanced Hammers I feel are going to play a big deal down the line, especially because he plays 7 energy. They're all special. So
one big thing I noticed from this weekend so far is that all those Zoroark base decks have opted to add the Evosoda to their list now, and I think it's slowly started to get added into lists after Memphis. You know, Memphis played like 1, if any, and now decks are out to play like 2 or 3 just to kind of. It's easy to get Zoroarks out now. Just play the Evosoda.
Exactly right. When you're playing Evosoda in decks that don't have the trade ability, Evosoda kind of has diminishing returns in the late game. Fortunately, when you have Evosodas, when you draw them late and you don't need them, trade them away.
Exactly.
Get yourself some fresh too. So as we see a quick trade there. Still trying to get his board established the way he wants. Interesting to see what he gets here, because he's gonna come up, take a knockout on the Sudowoodo, and he really wants to set himself up as a supporter that can maximize its impact in his following turn.
Yeah. So we see like I said, Lele come down and Guzma. Okay, so. Has he played a support already for turn?
Yep, he did end this turn.
So he's kind of setting up for next turn and getting ready to, probably to set up. He knows he's going to knock out the Sudowoodo. He's probably going to eyes Zero on bench, just kind of slowly take out Zachary's field, one piece at a time.
It's going to be interesting to see if Zachary can recover that Watch and Learn Sudowoodo and
retaliate back.
Use that back to retaliate back. Exactly right.
So I wonder if that's the case. I wonder if he needs to evolve the Garbodor now, knowing that he has no Zoroark set up. So you put the Garbodor out now and take out the one threat to your Zoroark, you're kind of just, in the driver's seat, just hanging out there now.
And this is exactly what we were talking about. How can I figure out my position in the game? How can I use my ability to lock down abilities to stop my opponent from coming back?
Did he take 2 prizes?
No, he took that first knockout on the Zoru that had the DC that allowed that counter energy to be live and take that Watch and Learn knockout.
So there's no Garbodor down, so we will see abilities still on Zach's side. And with the Zoroark coming down, I think he's kind of eyeing his options. I wonder if he wants to see if there is a way for him to pull off getting Sudowoodo out of his discard with the counter energy.
It's going to be interesting to see. I feel like if Kyle had the ability to Garbotoxin his last turn, he definitely would have, because 3 Zoras with no trade available and no Zoroark GX on the bench would have put him miles ahead. Interested to see what Zach goes for here to help him crawl back into this game.
So we do see him eyeing a Guzma play here. I wonder if he's going to go right after the Trebuch with the Floatstone on it. Seeing that it's kind of one of his immediate threats right now to slow down his board completely. So he does grab the Guzma. I did not see if he had a DCE or not in his hand.
I believe he does. I believe he has a knockout on either of those Trebuch if he wants it this turn, and it's kind of interesting him, I can't prioritize putting damage on an attacker. I might have to start taking out what can lock me out of the game, which is Garbotoxin. That Garbotoxin Garbodor.
So we do see the first trade, and actually the first and only trade right now, unless he draws another Zoroark GX. And now he has 2 DCs, plus Guzma. So I'm really curious if he's going to go after a Trebuch here, or he's going to pressure the other Zoroark.
It seems like the decision is on the cusp, and we're about to find out what he pulls up. Personally, I like going after that Trebuch right now. Because if that Trebuch gets online, you only have 1 Zoroark GX, you are effectively out of the game.
He's pulling the one without a flow, so does he have a Field Blower in hand?
Interesting.
So I wonder if he put that one there. Maybe he has a high item count in his deck, and knowing that Trebuch didn't have an item on it yet, he got to add a Choice Band and Psychic Energy involved to Trash Garbodor and maybe do some significant damage. But very interesting, he didn't take out the one with the Flowstone.
Something is motoring through Zach's mind to that made him make that play. And I think you're right. I think it's the ability to put on a choice band. Items might be piling up. Trash Lynch Garbodor. Choice band kind of gives you plus 10 instead of that plus 30 because the resistance there. And he kind of prices him into like, do you want this to be a Garbotoxin or do you want this to be a Trash Lynch Garbodor?
That's also very true. So maybe he's kind of just, get in his head that, hey, you're going to have to put this Garbodor down and slow yourself down also at this point.
So we see Kyle kind of going through his trades, trying to formulate a game plan here. Maybe the same decision we were just talking about Kyle has in his mind right now. Which Garbodor do I need to be getting on the field? Which is going to give me the best opportunity here? Do I think I'm ahead enough where locking out all the trades is the way to go?
And I like, and it's kind of like what we said like a couple previous turns before, is how he's probably going to slowly start chipping away at these Zaruas. If he can get a Garbotoxin down, I think that's honestly the optimal play. He has 2 Zork GXs. He has the energy out already. And there's targets that can get hit in one shot. So we are at an even 3-3 prize count is what it looks like. I believe so. And going into Bokhari or Zach's turn, I'm sure what he's going to do here. He could Coco spread, which might not be a bad play because right now Kyle does not have enough bench to knock out a Tapu Koko.
Correct. Might be banned DCE on Tapu Koko, start spreading while getting that 50 damage on that Zoroark GX, softening it up maybe for a following Zoroark GX knockout, or another spread, like you said. If he can't get it off the board, he's in good shape.
The numbers here, if he goes Choice Band DCE onto Zoroark GX, he does 50 to active, like you said. It brings it down to 160. So the following turn, Zoroark GX can hit with 150, but Kukui could do the extra damage he needs to knock out the active Zoroark GX.
As well as you mentioned, if he can't take that knockout on the Tapu Koko, which he end that away, and we see that go onto the Zoroark GX. So maybe that spread plan not optimal here, going for the N, and let's see what we can do. Both players, 3 prizes. Didn't get a good look at what Zach was able to get into his hand here.
So one thing I noticed with this actually right now, right now if, one thing with a Zoroark Mirror is you want to always stay in 2-shot range. And if you look at Kyle's side of the field, his damage cap's 80 right now. So unless, one, he finds a choice band or adds another Pokemon to his bench, he was out of the math range of being in a 2-shot war with Zach right now. So if Zach just brings up Zoroark right now, hits him one time, he's already ahead of the game unless he, like we said, Kyle adds some different damage modifiers on his side.
Yep, exactly right.
So I think that's what his reasoning was. Let me just end and go ahead and get the Zoroark out because I'm in a decent board state right now to handle it.
So we see that 130 damage go on the Zoroark GX, like you said, mitigating the damage a little bit. It seems we got a discussion between the judges in the stream here. I think it's on the dice being used.
Oh, yep.
No sweat. We can read them regardless. So I think we're in good shape. A little bit of preference at the table, and that's not that big of a deal. I think we can handle it. Quick trade, Psychic Energy, like you said. I believe that's the second or third one that's gone down. He only plays 4, so he's kind of pricing himself out of that late game Trash Lance if he keeps aggressively getting rid of those Psychic Energy.
So one thing I think I like that I can see potentially happening in Kyle's deck is he does play Psychic Energy. So if he wanted to, he could retreat the Zoroark, bring up Tapu Lele, and use Tapu Cure to clean up all the energy off the Zoroarks. So I can see that being like completely helpful in Zoroark mirrors when it comes to those 2-shot wars. You bring the 2 Zoroarks back to the bench and Tapu Lele up, you clean it all off. It's a fresh restart.
Absolutely. And what an easy and very powerful GX attack to have access to. Most decks that play Tapu Lele just they don't even read that text in the card, my friend, and it's pretty good. It is pretty good, especially with and that's I believe the 3rd Psychic Energy going away.
He's not thinking about that play right now currently, so he has other thoughts in mind. But curious, he's going for the Garbodors, another Zorua. What's his play right now? Does he Acerola? There's a lot of different options right now. And
Acerola
right on cue.
I believe, we're just going to see him scoop up that Zoroark, put Zora back down, and get in there with the Zoroark GX, and hopefully put himself on this damage exchange here.
So this is one thing I like about the Zoroark mirrors is that when you're attacking Zoroark versus Zoroark, you're pressuring each Zoroark and you force him to Acerola. So the thing you want to do after you get attacked, you want to retreat that Zoroark that got damaged, bring up a new one, or Guzma up the Zorua that's just benched on your opponent's side. So that way you're now taking him down 1 Zoroark GX, less trade, and it puts you a little more ahead in the trade battle there.
We see the Evo Soda, Garbotoxin Garbodor coming down. Kyle believes, I'm ahead of this game. I'm taking the first hit on a clean Zoroark GX. I don't want my opponent to have abilities anymore. let's coast.
This is a really interesting spot here. And it looks like that Zach does not play any Acerola, actually. So this Zoroark mirror definitely just got a little more interesting here. So we do see a second Zoroark go down. And I'm not sure what his thoughts are right now. I think it was a great play on Kyle's side to evolve to that Garbotoxin. And I think it's a good setup right now on both sides.
So we can see in Zach's list he is playing 3 Field Blower. However, as I mentioned, the more items you use, the more powerful that late game Trash Lance becomes, and forcing your opponent into those situations to make those tough decisions can definitely help you swing a game. We see a very underwhelming puzzle of time. You always want those in pairs, Jeff. You always want those in pairs.
Yep. It kind of research your opponent like, oh, you see, you must not have anything right now if you played a singular puzzle of time. Or you could be setting up a trade. But right now, without a Field Blower, he is unable to do that.
So we see him reorganizing his discard, taking a look at what Pokemon he has available. If you kind of see, he's adjusted his discard to put the items in the back, so he always has an easy way to count. We're going to see that Stretcher. Watch and Learn is back in. That counter energy is going to be live, and we'll see if he can leverage that late game to sweep.
It's definitely going to happen now. Well, here's an interesting thing here, too. So since it was like awkward prize trade between the single prize attackers, Zoroark GX gets knocked down on Zach's side right now, so he goes to 1 prize. Sudowoodo can come up and knock out the active Zoroark, but then they're both at 1 prize. Counter energy is useless now. You have to be behind in prizes for counter energy to be in effect.
We see he's taking a look in his hand. I believe it's a Flowstone DCE. Decides to DC up his Zoroark GX, giving himself, the threat of a follow-up attacker. Retreats to protect his Zoroark GX. Now we're back in the do you have Guzma?
Yep.
Guzma range. And with all abilities turned off, no trading, no Tapu Lele, might be a little bit harder to find now.
This is just a draw game now. Do I draw and get it? No. Do you draw and get it? No. All right, we'll get there eventually.
Something we do see in Kyle's list, he does play 3 Field Blowers of his own, which means he can control a little bit when his abilities are on and when they're off.
That's a very good point. And there we do see the 1 Enhanced Hammer, and there's a couple other cards there. I think I did see a Field Blower and a Flowstone in his hand, so we could see that play that you were just talking about, to where he could just discard a tool off Garbodor, get his own draw engine back, and then reattach the abilities back. So
exactly right. And getting the Choice Man off the other side of the board seems pretty good right now too.
And he's just going for the 100 damage onto the Zoroark GX here. And with no Acerola, I think it's in a little bit of a rough position now for Zach for sure. And now the DC off the board, no draw engine, hard to get to your puzzles. He's already played the 1. This is, and he drew to Sudowoodo.
Watch and Learn right off the top. We'll see if that comes into play. Pass.
So he's hoping to hit one of his counter energies now, and I believe 2 are in the discard. I remember him Ultra Balling 1 earlier, and then obviously the 1 that was on Sudowoodo previously. So.
See a Bridget here. Does he have a Trubbish? Yes, he does. And he does have that 4th Psychic Energy in his hand at this point in time.
And there it goes.
And bam. So how much you want to bet that's going to be a Trash Lance Garbodor right there?
There's a very good odds that is going to happen right now. And we do see the knockout on the Zoroark, going 3-1. We have Guzma, Floatstone, Sudowoodo. Not much you can do with that hand right now, so you're kind of just waiting the inevitable. So we do see the Sudowoodo come down. You have to move that Tapu Koko because it's already full bench on Kyle's side. It could be knocked out by Zoroark with a Riotous Beating. And looks like he has Guzma for game. All right, and we are going to game 2, and this Garbodor deck is incredibly interesting.
It is really interesting. I think we undervalued the ability of his own Field Blowers to help him mitigate when abilities are on and when they're off. And as I mentioned, he doesn't really care if you're Field Blowering off to get your abilities back, because you're just stocking up for that late game Trash Lance.
So I'm wondering if the long run, if Zach would have Guzman up the Trubbish with the Floatstone instead of the other Trubbish, if that would have made a different game here essentially, because I only seen one other Floatstone that Kyle drew throughout the game after that point. So
and that was a very interesting point in the game. I think since Kyle held off the following few turns without actually getting Garbotoxin live, I don't think it would have mattered too much there. I think, like you said, the threat of the Trash Lance Garbodor making him either decide, do I want this to be a Trash Lance Garbodor with a Floatstone on it, or do I want to lock out abilities? And at that point in time, Kyle wasn't very well set up, so it was kind of an easy spot to be in. Price Kyle into making a decision, I'll adjust from there. Unfortunately, it didn't quite pan out for Zach after he took that big Watch and Learn knockout, and we'll see if he can steal himself a game too.
One thing we're seeing a lot from this weekend with these decks is there's a lot of decks that kind of control your opponent's pace. Like it punishes your opponent for doing things extra. So he has 2 Troubles on the bench. You're not have to be aware of how many abilities I can use and how many items are going to discard. We saw the Weavile deck earlier today. You got to be aware of how many abilities you put on your bench. Like your Rock GX, how many Pokemon you put on your bench. There's so many controlling cards in the format right now. It makes you have to be very aware as a player.
Exactly right. And sometimes just the threat of what is possible can alter the course of the game.
Exactly.
And your decision making throughout that game. So we see Zach will be going first here, and the natural Bridget feels good.
Natural Bridget always feels good. What the grab right here? I mean, I'm assuming it's going to go probably double Zorua and the Coco, and kind of hold that Sudowoodo back for a little bit. I don't think you need to bench it immediately.
Absolutely no reason to get it out right now. He is going first. He is going to be applying the early game pressure, theoretically setting up more Zoroark GXs first, maybe taking that first knockout. When you're ahead in prizes, as you mentioned, that counter energy doesn't do much. So we see he's going through, kind of taking inventory of his prizes there, Tapu Koko, 2 Zorua, as we mentioned. He's really just setting himself up to start firing through those trades, thin his deck out, and get to those cards that really matter in this matchup.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, a lot of players when they play these Zork decks, they favor the Zork GX because that ability trade is just so incredible. Just being able to discard what you don't need, get to the stuff you want, and it's an immediate ability you can use.
It's incredibly good. A lot of people, natural Bridget both sides. I see your Bridget, and I raise you my own. As you mentioned before with the trade, the great thing about it is it allows you to play things like Giratina promo without sacrificing a lot of consistency in your deck. Because when you're playing Zoroark GX, as long as you're not starting that Giratina promo, you trade it away. It's the easiest decision you can make in a matchup.
And that's like one of the merits of the deck that Zach's piloting today, where he plays like 4 to 5 different counters of decks. But if you're not playing the counter for that matchup, trade.
Yep.
And it's
gone.
And it's gone.
It allows you to justify things like the 3-4 Bridget counts, the very high Bridget counts that help you get that early game consistency. Late game, trade. Get you 2 more. So we see a setup kind of mirroring Zach's 2 Trubbish, again, to give himself the option to ability lock, 2 Zorua, so he can start trading. Pass back over to Zach. We'll see what he can do on his second turn of the game here.
One thing I want to point out here is that Zach opted to play the Breakthrough Zorua over the Shining Legend one. So the Breakthrough one with the Dark Energy can use Moonless Madness to confuse your opponent. So maybe there's some times where if he's behind on prizes, you can put a counter energy on it to confuse your opponent over just the traditional Ram that Kyle is piloting.
We see a Tapu Lele here. To your point, Espeon GX, its first attack confuses, and sometimes just attacking and knowing that you're going to have to coin flip for that damage changes up the pace of play. And in a game like this, where so many decisions are made, sometimes being able to capitalize on just 1 or 2 is what can swing the game back in your direction.
So we do see him eyeing a second Zork to come out, but he's played Tapu Lele. He's looking for a supporter. I'm curious if he's playing that Mallow and going to trade into another Zork GX and maybe a DCE. If he does not already have it in hand.
Yep.
And looks like that's the play we're going to be seeing right now. Malice is a strong card that complements Zork GX trade ability, where you can put any 2 cards from your deck on top of your deck, then just use that ability trade to draw them right into your hand immediately.
Absolutely. It's a very low price of admission to play Mallow. Again, when it's not good, trade. It's as easy as that.
It's so amazing how these Zork decks can just play all these different unique techs just to kind of make their deck as consistent and as possible throughout the different decks in the meta.
So we see that trade, and he got that DC as Zork GX, as you mentioned, keeping his consistency going, and going to be able to take a knockout on a Trubbish here is I think what he's eyeing up.
And sometimes it's not even bad for Zach right now to be able to take a single prize knockout, because you're always going to be in an awkward number now for your counter energies. So if your GX gets knocked out, you're now behind 1, and so on and so forth, because you did that first single prize knockout.
Historically, people often talk about the 7 prize game, and the counter energy. If you're priced into doing the 7 prize game, counter energy is a heck of a way to do it.
Yep.
Heck of a way to do it.
So we do see the knockout on the Trubbish. Kyle does promote Zorua here, and I believe he's got Evosoda in his hand, but we're going to start the Zork battle off. You need a little more bench to kind of get that extra damage onto the opposing Zork GX.
He's got a full grip, though. A lot of options here, I'm sure. He's kind of hiding his cards from us, keeping them off screen, so can't get a very good look.
It looks like Ultra Ball. It might have been a Trash
Garbodor.
Yeah, along with another Ultra Ball.
I believe he has the Evosoda, as you mentioned, in hand to maybe get that other Zork GX up, really start trading, see if he can really start pressing an advantage as the first attack on the GX Pokemon.
Now, I really like how this deck runs, to where you kind of control the pace of abilities with the Garbodor being there, and which, speaking of which, he just benched now. So, evolved just now, and at any time you're gonna say, hey, I feel comfortable with where I'm at. Let's just lock everything down. Let's shut the game down.
Yeah, shut it down. Garbotoxin, such a strong ability to remove every other ability from the field. We've seen it a lot in the Pokemon trading card game, and with so many ability-reliant decks, it certainly proves its mettle.
We do see
Big Sycamore.
Big Sycamore here. We do see a Flowstone behind that Psychic Energy, but I still don't think there's enough set up on Kyle's side to warrant applying that Garbotoxin ability.
I agree. Trade 1, trade 2. He's really looking for basics now. He just wants to load up that bench. Obviously, he's Sycamore and he doesn't have a Bridget available to him. Really wants to get a little bit more than 60 damage on that opposing Zoroark GX.
One thing I would like to see here, Kyle does tech in a Necrozma GX, and that could really, change this two-shot war for the Zoroark. So even if he's only hitting for 60 now, if he gets choice maybe 90, he could still hit Necrozma later on and take out multiple prizes.
Yep.
So reduce the second trade. I don't think he drew another basic.
I don't think he did. I think
a whole lot of energy and not much else.
If he has a field blower here, I would be willing to shut down abilities, try and stem the bleeding a little bit, and give yourself the chance next turn to leverage your trades and come through. But unfortunately, 60 damage goes on that Zoroark GX, and we'll see how Zach can push the pace of this game. I think he smells some blood in the water and really wants to put the pressure on.
Definitely sees an opening here, and he wants to take full advantage of it. I don't know if he's eyeing to trade the Kukui, and he's eyeing to trade the Kukui.
Not much value when you're two-shotting to plus 20. On an opposing Zoroark GX.
Yep.
Not a lot of value there. Trade it away, get yourself 2 cards, and really try and leverage this advantage. He's got a full grip of cards. Trade 2.
So we do see a puzzle time coming off that trade, and I think it's like that enhanced hammer in his hand he's about to use. Sorry. All right, so we are going to see a knockout on this Garbodor, and it's going to put Zach to 4 prizes now, and an even trade, and the enhanced hammer on a double colorless energy. So huge turn right now for Zach, taking complete momentum of this game.
This is one of those times where a lot of players say, okay, what are my chances of winning? Do I need to scoop it up to go to game 3? We've got 22 minutes on the clock. Pace of play has been good, but this match is one that certainly can go a long time.
Exactly.
And like I said, there's blood in the water here. Zach kind of has it all. Kyle has no way to stem the bleeding, as I said before, locking down those abilities. If he doesn't have a stellar turn here, he might want to consider packing him up, giving himself the best chance he can in Game 3 being on the play.
And I think, going through your point, I believe Kyle I think he's still, players at this level right now, when they get day 2, they know the levels of their deck, they know the ins and outs of their decks, or what they need to do to get to X win, or consider for whether it's Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, whatever it is. And I think he still sees an opening potentially, and if you can get some kind of setup here going back to your point, maybe we can see a comeback here. But that end, I did not see much going on. And with 21 minutes left, you got to know at what point do you, hey, we got to get to Game 3. I got to get a chance to finalize this game. We need wins in day 2. We don't need ties.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's a rat race to the top 8. Every point matters. Unfortunately, 3 is just a little bit more than 1. And, when you draw, it kind of takes the wind out of your sails. You've won 8 rounds already. Draw is not where you want to be. And we see another 40 damage going, and it's just looking a little bleak for Kyle here.
So now we still have access abilities now. There's no Garbotoxin in effect right now, and we could see a third Zoroark GX come out. We do see an Evosoda there.
He's got that free bench space for the Sudowoodo if he wants it late game. I would go ahead, if he has access to that Zoroark GX, I'd go ahead, bring it in, start trading. Like I said, press that advantage, because if we had a little advantage bar, it would be wildly onto Zach's side right now.
Definitely. So he's kind of skating through, seeing the last little pieces of his deck right now. Does he have everything? Puzzles, times, DCEs, different counts like that to keep his pace of game right now, keep the tempo alive on his side.
Exactly right. There's, with 2 Pokemon in play on the opposite side of the field, I'm comfortable here even attaching my DC to the active Zoroark GX, even though it has 100 damage, because what Kyle will need to take that knockout is quite a bit, and he hasn't shown that he's doing much.
Actually, right now, I do not see any double. Oh, yeah, it looks at the end over there. I think that is a double colorless energy at the end of his hand right there. So I think he's just kind of trading, thinning his hand out, trying to thin his deck out so he can end this game sooner than later.
Like I said, it's all about pressing that advantage. I'm kind of thinking if he does not have that double color, okay, he does have it. I believe I did see that correctly. It was at the far end of his hand. If he didn't have the double colorless, that might give false hope to Kyle here. But he is so far behind. I'd be priced into scooping him up. It just looks pretty bleak.
I think we need to see Zach actually maybe even like maybe taking his decisions out a little bit faster here, because while he does have control of the game, he wouldn't need this. We still need to finish game 3. So even if he wins games 2, we'll probably be down to like 15 minutes left just for game 3. And a real defensive game that Zork has, between the two-shot war, it could go the distance.
Exactly right. They're really trying to jockey for position, and I can't stress it enough. Kyle has fallen behind here. It does take a while in these matchups to play 3 full games, and that's what you need on day 2 of these regionals is wins. As you mentioned, we see a trade here. I honestly, looking at Kyle's list, I'm not sure what he's digging for. I'm not sure what his outs are. He is 8-1-1, and I'm in the booth, which means he's been doing something right. So, got to give all the credit in the world and faith in his decision-making abilities.
Maybe because he had Bridget here. He's actually going to start to an Ace Roller War, but it's not a really good spot to be in. Yeah, you're going to heal it off right now, but you're not doing much damage back. Like, this is the 3rd Riotous beating on a Zorg GX, and it's still alive.
Yeah. Exactly. I guess the other thing we can bring to light is, okay, this game's going long, pressuring it out. Maybe Kyle's thinking, I need to put this on Zach to close it out. I'm going to keep my pace of play up, but I'm going to give myself the longevity that I need. Maybe he's thinking, we can't finish a game 3 anyways, so what I'm going to do, maintain my correct pace of play, which is a very important thing in the game, but play that Acerola to deny a knockout.
Yep.
Make Zach go through all the paces to win this game. And again, let me stress again, it has nothing to do with slowing down your pace of play, but it has things to do like Tapu Lele for Acerola to clean up a Zoroark GX and making him earn those knockouts. But right now, we kind of just see Kyle trying to stem the bleeding here. And Zach needs to put the pressure on. I think Zach senses that he's got just a little bit of time to close this bad boy out.
We do see the second puzzle now. We could see a flow stone retreat and then back into another Zork for 100 damage right there. He does have choice spin if he wants to opt to. Oh my goodness. We have not seen that today, to where you have all 4 puzzles in hand.
Here we go.
So lots of decision making we're going to see here right now. Can I just grab a 4th of my discard power right now? Thank you.
Yeah, let me take the 4 best cards in here and just go on and pop those back in my hand. Talking about adding the pressure, I think 4 puzzles is a great way to start, for sure.
So curious what he's going to grab here. You have an Enhanced Hammer right there that he's eyeing right now, and then, like we said before, he does not play Acerola, so probably a Flowstone to get this Zork out the active. While Kyle's also denying prizes on his end with Acerola, Zach can do the same by denying prizes by putting him back to the bench, forcing him to Guzma and not Acerola.
Exactly right. We're kind of put in a very weird spot here. Zach is ahead on board. If Zach wins this game, unless we get a dunk in game 3, I don't quite see this one finishing out. So, double puzzle, we'll see what he prioritizes here. Mallow, double colorless, leverage those trades, get 2 more cards that he needs out of his deck.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting spot to be in with, you have the trade right now with a trade combo with Mallow on top of access to another double puzzle if needed. Like, I don't think you use the other set right now. I think you want to kind of see what Kyle has left, what energy he has left in his deck to kind of come back at you. And if he does, you just counter it back with your double puzzle play. Yep.
We see him with his Mallow pulling to the front. I believe it was a Max Potion and a Guzma.
Wow. Okay.
So he's essentially nullifying Kyle's last 3 turns.
Wow.
In a heartbeat, and then going to be applying some pressure of his own. We're, like I said, Zach's in good shape. We just needs to slam the door shut on this one.
He has DCEs, he has access. He has a lot of stuff he can do right now. He's good to go. So he's using the trade to get those 2 cards, and
Max
there
Potion.
is the
Bang.
Max Potion. So Sparking, we're seeing Riotous beating here. It's going to be for 100 damage. Still being a full advantage in this 2-shot war that the Zork decks bring.
Which is quite interesting why he decided to trade away his choice band. I didn't get to see everything in his hand, but if you're only doing 100 and he doesn't hit another basic, that's not a knockout there.
Well, he still has a Sudowoodo in his hand, so at any point in time he can add that extra damage that he needs right there.
Of course.
I think he realized, Kyle probably doesn't have Parallel City or any kind of bench space modifiers right there, so he's just like, I got this. And he is playing a Bridget and now he's going to start filling up his bench now. I think it's a little bit too late now to do that, but we'll see what his thoughts are here.
Like I said, Kyle's so far behind. I think he's putting Zach through the paces here. Like I said, he's making him earn it because
Zach had to double check what the hyper rare was. It's a little bit hard to see those little rainbow rare, hyper rare cards that we get in new sets now.
It's pretty difficult to see. Not doing us any favors by playing it halfway off screen, but we
understand it. So I guess that isn't out for him now. Is that he can use Black Ray GX to do the 100 damage to each Zoroark GX, but it is not scared of a knockout because Zoroark caps damage out at 150. So definitely attaching that energy there, and the double colors the following turn can set up that attack.
We do have to think that is 2 attachments to do that attack, and we do know that Zach has a Guzma in his hand from that last turn Malo.
So he searches. I think he's trying to figure out item counts, and maybe he has an out there with Trash and Lance is what he's counting out right now. And is it worth attaching his energy to Necrozma, to a Trubbish? If you have your Psychics left, I would attach to Necrozma here because Garbodor is just a single attachment.
Yep, exactly right. And like you said, if his way to crawl back into this game is through the Necrozma, then maybe that's where he wants to put down his attachment. He says, nope, DCE Zoroark GX, I'm going to stick to the plan.
Yep, but now he's at least within 2-shot range now with the full bench. So he's at 120 now, applying that pressure to Zach on his side. But Zach has all the outs he wants. He can get the max pushing back if he wants to with the double puzzle.
Yep.
So we could see, max puzzle. Puzzle, get a max pushing back, Guzma up the Zoroark on bench, and what will Kyle respond to with that? Necrozma is no longer on his bench. Was that?
I believe the judge is taking a peek at it, making sure he's got a good inventory of all the abilities on abilities and attacks on Necrozma GX. So we have a trade the counter energy, and he picks up
the two counter attackers.
Two counter attackers, Mimikyu, and I didn't quite see the other one.
It was Shaman.
Okay.
From the Shining Legends set.
And as we mentioned before, easiest decision to trade away.
Yep, exactly.
It's like, doesn't impact my item count. I don't need these in this matchup. Trade them away. Get him out of here. I don't need to see those again. I think it's safe to say, professional analysis here, he won't be puzzling back for the Mimikyu and Shaman.
See, and there goes the max plus play we were talking about here. And he's also he's counting his items right now to see what else is it worth doing his double puzzle right now. Would it put me within a dangerous range of this Garbodor? But I think it's fine to go for the max push and play and Guzma up the Zoroark GX on bench.
Yeah, that'll put him down, I believe, to 1 prize, and then. From there, you don't particularly care if they Trash Lance knockout because you're stepping up and taking a KO anyways.
Exactly.
So it's kind of safe there. Guzma. Still a full grip Choice Band. Field Blower.
Oh, he's counting his Field Blowers now, so just he's just weighing everything right now. And I like Zach's going through each motion right now to make sure he has everything he needs to solidify this game.
Yep. Choice Band on the clean Zoroark, maybe not. Put that back in. I don't want to put that down. Taking it into consideration a Field Blower. That's 2 more items into my discard. Yep. Not opening the door or the window or any part of the house to let Kyle back into this game.
What players like to do in that situation when they know they're going to go down to a low prize count, they will attach their extra tools to make themselves a little bit less end-proof. And it was what he was kind of deciding there, him being Zach. And then he, like you said, decided, well, you know what, Field Blower's a card. I'm scared of Trash Lance right now. Let's just hold it in hand and just kind of take it that way.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle does get the Trash Lance Garbodor, the Garbotoxin Garbodor. If he can end this turn and shut down abilities and end, that might be a way to crawl back into the game. We see the Choice Band go down on the Garbotoxin Garbodor.
That's always a dangerous thing to do. I mean, I know, yes, he's ending Zach down really low here, but it's just always a dangerous thing to do to put the Choice Band on the Garbodor because while, yes, Kyle does play 3 Field Blower, it's always scary to see your Garbodor active from a Guzma with a Choice Band on it. And you already play limited energy as it is, so.
The good news is it's not Lysander. Guzma of your own and Kyle is playing 4. So if it does get stuck up there, he does have quite a few outs. Plus, I still believe we only saw 2 Field Blowers in his discard. He still has access to 1 more. Again, leveraging that ability control that we were talking about at the start of this matchup.
So we're still in Kyle's turn here, and I think he's opting just to go for Riotous Beating here for the 120 damage, and let's move on to the next move.
Yep.
Next play. And there's a Field Blower in Zach's hand to go ahead and get his trade abilities back.
Yep. So Field Blower. Now we see the importance of holding on to that choice band. It's an easy discard now.
Due to the Coco go away, you see choice band go away with the trade. I think he kind of wants to hold. The counter energy is kind of pointless now.
Yep.
You're down to 2 prizes.
He's so far ahead. He's miles ahead. Get rid of those counter energies. Trade that away.
Yeah, there's no reason to use those now. But the scary thing is here, too, is that we're going back to that he does not play Acerola. So there's now 240 damage on board, but split between the 2 Zoroark GXs that a Necrozma GX can take 4 prizes on next turn.
Yep. And we did see last turn the Psychic Energy go down on Necrozma GX. And all credit to Kyle. Saw a line, stuck with it, and got a little bit of reprieve. And he's putting himself in a position to kick this door wide open.
Going back to what you're saying is, he did not, fold. He did not, get a little bit scared. He get intimidated. He knew his couple outs and what he can do, and we're seeing that now potentially. So. Yep,
we see an N here. He did shut off the abilities, so hopefully Kyle kind of misses turning off his abilities, and Zach gets what he needs to close out this game.
So he already did both his trades. He's down to 2. He drew another Field Blower off the end of 2. A little bit of insurance there. And tough spot to be in. He knows what's going to happen next potentially and with the Black Ray GX. And this could be a really interesting game. But honestly, if you could figure out a way to where you can get a little more damage on the Zoroark GX on bench that's like not touched right now, and then Black Ray and take all 6 prizes.
That's going to be a highlight reel moment for us for sure.
I don't know how to react to that, but that would be an incredible play. We do see a DCE come down on Necrozma GX. Is there going to be a Guzma here on?
I believe Sudowoodo Watchling has 2 retreat, right? That might be a good thing to Guzma up.
Yeah.
Bang, try to get it stuck in the active.
Yep.
And then leverage your Zoroarks and all that.
Because now you're just 2 Guzmas out now. So if you Guzma to Sudowoodo, spread that 100 damage to each of the GXs, that including Lele. So even if your bench gets limited, you can still knock out with Riotous Beating on Lele or the other Zoroark GX that you put the 100 damage on.
I actually said Guzma, but I believe he already ended this turn.
No, he does. Kyle has not ended yet.
Oh, okay.
Kyle's still at the start of his turn. He just touched DCE, and he still has not went through his motions yet.
That's correct. Zach ended after doing his 3 trades. Got the 2 cards, which was the Cabalion and the Field Blower, which might prove important here.
I like this play right now from Kyle. He's getting the stuff he needs right now, just in case something does get knocked out, and the Lele being for the Guzma play or just another extra bench damage for Zoroark GX later. And he is bringing that Zoroark up. I like this play a lot right here. Reason being is it keeps Zoroark active, has 100 damage on him, and he gets retreat and bring up Riotous Beating after an extra knockout without using Guzma.
Yep, like I mentioned, that's why I'm in the booth, and Kyle's at 8-1-1 at the largest region.
4 prize turnaround.
That is
for Kyle. Incredible.
He looked at Zach's board, bang, knockout, bang, knockout. Feed me more.
This is incredible right now. What a comeback right now for Kyle. This game could end in game 2 now after the incredible tempo that Zach controlled this game.
Yep, he like we talked about, he just wasn't able to apply enough pressure to close out this game.
He needs double puzzle. And honestly, he needs to make sure that there's a lot of things here. He has 2 knockout. He has 2 recognition right now.
Oh my!
What?
Oh my! Hey, Cabalion gone. Double puzzle. Let's do this.
Off the tray with the Field Blower in his hand, gets the Guzma DCE for game.
That was the most ridiculous subset of turns. We saw the Black Ray GX 4 prize swing, set himself up for a win next turn. Zach goes,
double puzzle.
No sweat, kid. I got you. Trade. 2 puzzle. Done. Game
Going
over.
back to your I raise your Black Ray GX double puzzle time.
Look at this. Look at this. So we making me look like a little bit of savant here. We are going to a game 3.
We are going to.
I lost faith in my previous assumptions of what was going to happen. Kyle coming back, big Black Ray GX, and I thought it was over.
Those turns were absolutely incredible. What a top deck on Zachary's side to get the Field Blower and the double puzzle off the singular trade that he had. Kyle put everything out there to make himself, have victory in hand, and double puzzle. Double puzzle.
Zach looked Kyle in the eye and said, I don't need 3 trades. Give me 1.
Give me
double
1.
Puzzle. Boom.
Give me 1.
Wrap it up. Let's send it to game 3.
Shot to the heart. We're going to game 3.
That's part of the game, though. 8-1-1, you know, at the largest regionals, you got to catch a couple of those to be able to make top 8. I don't think anybody's ignorant to that fact.
Yep.
And Zach was able to pull it out at just the right time in that game 2. We are going to a game 3. Like I said, given on how this matchup kind of works out, maybe, just maybe, if somebody gets donked out, we get a result here. But this is going to be a tough grind.
This is going to be a really tough grind, especially after just seeing the starters on Zach's side at least. I see a Cobalion and a Sudowoodo going to bench, and just a Lele on Kyle's side. So we may not see this.
So this is, you know, kind of the backside of Zach's deck, right? He's anti-meta. He's got those counter energy. He's got all those counter attackers. But this start, definitely not what you want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we do on Kyle's side though. We do see the turn 1 Bridget. Again, no Lele Bridget already in hand. Feels good. And we're going to probably see the usual combo of 2 Zorua and a Garbodor and a Trubbish here. Sorry.
I didn't get to take a good stock of his hand. He's going. He sees Necrozma GX. He knows the time is short, and a big Black Ray GX is his way to close this out. When you're low on time, trying to avoid the draw, you got to pull all the punches.
I really like the Necrozma GX right here in this kind of type of deck to like go against Zoroark like that, because it's really hard to get to that 180 number for Zoroark GX.
He's not super priced in too much by putting that Psychic Energy on the Necrozma as well. He's got his 2 Zoroarks that he will be able to take the kind of quick knockouts on Cobalion and the Sudowoodo. And he goes, Zach, I dare you, set up all the Zoroarks you want, because I've got my Black Ray GX 1 attachment away to come through. We see a Sycamore there. We need a big 7 from Zach if he wants to have an opportunity to play this game. A couple double colorless, Ultra Ball, Lele.
Enhanced Hammer. Here's a couple different ideas here. He decides to hold on. So another note about Necrozma GX's attack, for his base I believe is 10, and it has 60 more for each Psychic Energy you discard off this Pokemon. So that's another route that Kyle can have to take a knockouts here. I'm not sure it's the optimal play, because that'd be discarding a lot of Psychic Energies, and you're already limited to just your 4. But just another note there that could be another play we could see.
As we mentioned, 2 minutes, 56 seconds left on the clock. You got to do what you can to give yourself the opportunity to win this game.
So unlike in Top Cut, in Swiss, if you go to a game 3 and the game is not decided, it is a tie regardless of prize counts. The game is not fully finished with all 6 prizes being taken or a deck out or any other kind of win condition there. It is a tie.
So we see, again, Kyle kind of putting through the paces, trying to find a route to victory like he did in Game 2. So skillfully navigated, and unfortunately got double puzzled out. So just trying to set up his board here, apply any sort of pressure that he can to Zach. He's got the double colorless. He's not attaching.
Sometimes with these kind of decks, you don't want to attach energy just to attach energy. You got to have meaning. People are playing a Enhanced Hammer. People are, is the attack worth it? You got to kind of put all those different variables into consideration when you're making your decisions.
Exactly right. That's why I was so safe on turn 1 to play that Psychic Energy. We're not seeing a lot of Crushing Hammers floating around, but they have seen each other play Enhanced Hammer more than once in this game with the ability to puzzle them back.
Exactly. So looks like the Iron Bridge on his end now, Zach, and probably going to start his setup going here, but time's crunching down. Is there a way to just get these quick knockouts? I don't see it.
I'm finding a hard time seeing the path to victory here. I believe it starts with the Black Ray GX. You just got to pour some damage all over the board, but of course Zach has to be a willing participant in that.
Exactly.
He has to get those Zoroark GXs out for even that to open the door. After that, minute 15, really crunched on time, and all I see on Zach's side is a bunch of 1 prizers and a Lele, and on Kyle's side doesn't really have the damage output quite yet to mow through that board. Yeah,
I'm curious if he's actually going to evolve these Zoroark GX or not. But I'm trying to figure out if they're fully aware of how much time is left with their own internal clock, and kind of see what they're going to decide here.
We see the attachment there. No rush, just pass.
Actually, it's a little bit of a weird thing here. So Zach can set up to put GXs down and make Necrozma come up and do the GX play, but if there's a knockout anywhere in between then to put Kyle ahead on prizes, Sudowoodo can copy that same attack and do the same effect on Kyle's side to put 100 damage on each of its EX and GXs. So this is a really interesting chess game going on right now with time under 20 seconds.
This is one of those games that you wish you had that extra 15 minutes.
Can we
this is cooking up?
Can we play like soccer and just add a couple extra minutes, please? Like I just want to see this go.
The caster timer, which we could just
we have a little button in front of us,
button and just kick 10 minutes onto the clock. This would be a fun one to watch out. Again, as we were talking before, just the threat of watching their Sudowoodo being on the board is really mitigating how Kyle has to play.
So just a DC to the Zork on bench here, and they hear the beep over there. Time's called. It'll be turn 0 on Kyle's side because there was no attack initiated. And I'm aware they're curious if they're going to just say, do you want to finish this out, or do you want to just go ahead and say, you know what, it's a tie?
Not even opening the door for that watching learn Sudowoodo Guzma it up. This is truly just going through the paces now.
Yep.
They're entertaining us here on stream, keeping it going.
Keeping it going. Yep, there he goes. Nice little Mal. You know, I'm gonna get the Sudowoodo back, and I'm gonna retaliate you. He's gonna get a flow stone. I think he has counter energy already in hand, or flow stone. He's getting a counter energy, and he's gonna ride his beating right back at him.
You know, Pokemon TCG, sometimes you only get under the lights once. You know, 50 minutes of fame, if you will. Stretch it out. Might as well. You're allowed to take your 3 turns.
Stretch it out as the rescue stretcher is played. Nice timing, Kurt.
Hey. It's almost as if I drew it up that way, but I didn't. Not that much skill in the booth quite yet, but maybe we'll get there one day.
And, yep, just advances to Trubbish right here. This is turn number 2 now on Kyle's side. Again, I don't think there's any magical way to take 6 prizes on Kyle's side or 4 on Zach's side, and we're going to definitely inevitably see a draw here. But they're trying to wait us out. So I think Zach's ready to go take a little pause real quick for the next round, and we'll see what happens here.
Like I said, Kyle really relishing being under the lights here, putting together himself a heck of a tournament. Black Ray GX, 4 prizes. I know it didn't really shake his way, but I'd be feeling pretty good after that.
Talk about these 2 decks here. They're both actually incredible in their own merit. You know, I think Zork with counters is so. I guess it's like it's very strong, but not very a known deck because a lot of people didn't want to put the time and effort to kind of make a solid list for it. But as we do see the handshake, you do go to the tie. Great games from both players. Incredible game.